Today we are going to compare and contrast Robert Browning and Alfred Tennyson, the two great literary heavyweights of the Victorian period. Never have two products of the same age been so widely diverse as Browning and Tennyson. Tennyson is one extreme and Browning the other. Tennyson is simple and lucid. Browning is complex and obscure. Browning is not a child of his age in the broad sense of the term because he does not reflect in his poetry any remarkable influence of the happenings of his age. Tennyson, on the other hand, is a true product of the age in which he lived. Not only does he reflect the influence of his age, but at the same time, he gives it a place of importance in his poetry. He represents it in its various facets. Whereas Tennyson confines himself primarily to his own country and his own age, Browning is a cosmopolitan. He moves freely between different ages and is rough and unpolished. The genius of Browning is fundamentally dramatic. Tennyson's bent of mind is lyrical and narrative. Tennyson is a great literary artist. Browning is not as great a literary artist, but he unquestionably is a great thinker. There are so many similarities and dissimilarities between these two great poets, Browning and Tennyson. Tennyson is a strong representative of his age. In his great poem, The Idylls of the King, he deals with Victorian standards of morality. In his poem Ulysses, he shows the spirit of inquiry of his age and its search for knowledge. In his poem Princess, he deals with the question of women. His longer poem In Memoriam represents the conflict of doubt and faith. From Tennyson's poetry, we get a clear understanding of his personal opinions about the social and economic changes that were taking place in his times. We hardly find anything of this sort in the poetry of Robert Browning. He is a poet of the individuals and not of the masses of his times. He never cared to cater to the general taste of the public at large, and this accounts for his delayed popularity. Browning was not read by his immediate contemporaries because they failed to see their own image in that of their age in his poetry. For example, Browning remains uninfluenced by the element of doubt that had entered the Victorian era as a result of the scientific and industrial advancement of the age. The element of doubt and skepticism finds no place in the poetry of Browning. He speaks of outright faith. He gives an unconditional justification of the ways of God to men. As he says, our times are in his hand, who saith, a whole I planned, youth shows but half, trust God, see all, nor be afraid. Browning could not get immediate popularity because he did not confine himself to a single age, but this proved a blessing in disguise. The basic difference between him and Tennyson is that whereas Tennyson is insular, Browning is cosmopolitan. There was an excessive degree of the feeling of patriotism in Tennyson's heart, and he made poetry a medium for the expression of his feelings. He found it difficult to go beyond the range of his own country. That is why we find that whenever Tennyson speaks of war, he tries to glorify his own country. He takes incidents from the history of his own nation and gives them poetic grandeur. On the other hand, Robert Browning takes his subjects from different countries and different ages, whereas the scenery in the poems of Tennyson is primarily English. In those of Browning, it is primarily Italian. At the same time, Browning takes his scenery from other lands also. Whereas Tennyson fails to rise above his narrow patriotic limits, Browning presents the national qualities of France, Spain, and Germany unhesitatingly. Tennyson's interests are topical. Browning takes up subjects of universal significance and often deals with the mundane as well as the supermundane world. Another reason for the greater appeal of Browning's poetry is its concern with the soul of man. Browning will always continue to be read with fascination and interest because of his wonderful character studies. He has created men and women who keep haunting the mind of the reader long after he has read his poetry. One fails to find equally revealing and interesting character studies in the poetry of Tennyson. The analysis of Browning is scientific. His character studies are complex and yet they are interesting. They have a special appeal for the readers of modern times because in them one can see a reflection of the complexities of modern life. It is Browning the thinker that emerges from his poems. From this point of view, he is much ahead of Tennyson. The reader of today attaches greater importance to the thought content of a poem than to its sheer artistic beauty. The poetry of Tennyson fails to put the reader into an intellectual exercise because it speaks of the happenings of a particular age. He is a poet of big events and episodes, primarily of historical significance. Browning, on the other hand, is a poet of individuals and of events from the life of individuals. He catches his characters at one of the most revealing moments of their lives and builds up their entire personality against the background of a single incident. The characters of Browning's poetry are living human beings with their own thoughts and feelings, beliefs and disbeliefs, perfections and imperfections. For instance, Andrea del Sarto is a flawless painter, but the soul in him is lying dormant. The Duke in the poem My Last Duchess is a person with an atmosphere of awe and terror about him, and yet he is a lover of fine arts. The lover of Porphyria is a murderer, and yet his crime does not inspire feelings of horror and disgust. The range of Browning's subjects is wider than that of Tennyson because he has portrayed human beings who provide enough variety to a literary artist for fuller exploitation. Browning has exploited this variety to the full. He has taken striking features of humankind, human mind and heart and delved deep into them. The poetry of Tennyson lacks this vitality of life, and as a result, Tennyson is read today more because of his poetic and artistic worth than because of his subject matter. On the other hand, Browning is read more because of the rich thought content of his poetry than because of his literary achievement. This is the fundamental point of difference between the two. Thank you.